understand how we can connect with the database, how we can interact with the database, how we write the methods, and how do we use those all asynchronous techniques actually. So working with various communications and databases and dealing with. So let's see how do we manage. First, today we are going to see how Node.js is used to connect with database. Node.js with MongoDB, because already we learned MongoDB. In this, you will use those asynchronous calls. You will see how to use these asynchronous calls by using these techniques. Some events, methods, you will learn about that. Right. So, the first important Node.js Node.js uses MongoDB drivers actually. MongoDB drivers to connect with MongoDB database and handle interactions server side. Handling interactions server side. So generally, not only MongoDB, actually you need to know that Node.js with the database. So Node.js with the database. Actually, Node.js can connect and handle communication with any database. It can handle communication with any database. So it requires the relative drivers. So however the approach will be same for all databases. So but the commands and the functions will change. Approach will be same. I will show you with a different database how to connect. We will see. Because already we learned with the MongoDB. Already we know MongoDB. We will use this connection with MongoDB. How we can interact and work with MongoDB. We will see that. So first step, what we need is to connect with any database. So you need its relative driver. To connect with any database, you need its relative driver. Actually, there are so many databases in the world, and it's not guaranteed that you have to work with only MongoDB every time. Even you are learning full stack, sometimes you will use this full stack with Java. So then you will be called as Java full stack developer. So you will do with some PHP, .NET. This full stack fits anywhere. And you have an extra knowledge of GSP, PHP, .NET like that. And in some projects, they may be using various databases like Oracle, MySQL. Node.js can connect with any one of them and can handle any one of them. Only the point is you need to know what driver is required, how to configure the connections, because all databases configuration drivers are not same. They will be changing. For example, generally how a learner knows about various drivers, which driver required for databases, how to connect. It is very difficult to remember because hundreds of different types of databases will be there. So you can do one thing. Online, we have a website called connectionstrings.com. Connectionstrings.com. This is one of the best websites for developers because if you Google for every database, you need to separately Google. So many links will come. Some links will be confusion for you. That's the reason, as a developer, better come here. Because in this website, you will find the connections for all databases in the world. You will find the connection for all databases in the world. You can see several databases are there. Some databases you may never even heard about them. These are all the databases. And they will provide you help about understanding them, means connecting with them from various technologies. That means if I click on any, for example, how to connect with MySQL or Oracle MySQL, and automatically it will give you drivers for various technologies, .NET, PHP. But usually the basic driver will be similar. It's port numbers, drivers, how to connect, connection string, what attributes. All such things are configured here. All such things are defined and configured here. So you can better come here to understand all the attributes and do and use that for various interactions. So actually you can use whatever required for your database. This is for various databases, various providers. All the connection strings are provided here. You can Google, but generally when you Google, what happens is a lot of links will come. You don't know where to explore and see. Here you have, even if it provides a forum, you can post a query if you are facing problem, and it is a developers community. Those people will help you and they will tell you how to overcome the issue that you are facing in connection. This is the best option you have, right? Okay, fine. So this is just for a help. But regular databases that you are using, we can easily remember and you can use it. So what you have to do is to connect with MongoDB. Connect with MongoDB database. You have to install MongoDB driver. You have to install MongoDB driver. First we need to do that. Let's see. So you need to install MongoDB. So this is very important for our application development. Now you are learning one main concept, how to communicate with the database, interact with the database from server-side technology. Then whatever data you collect, you need to send to client side. Client side, we need to consume and present it. That is the approach we need to follow. Okay, now what we are doing here is we are configuring a simple database driver to be installed. So open your server location. So open your project location. This is our project location. So open the terminal and you have to install npm install -- save MongoDB. So the MongoDB driver save is to permanently save that package. Generally, it is not required, but if you don't use this save, sometimes that package may reinstall whenever another dependency is installed. It will reset the package. That problems will come. So we don't want to reset that. So just better to save it permanently. Okay. And save. And MongoDB driver is installed. Remember, you are not installing MongoDB. MongoDB is already there in your computer. You already installed. You are installing MongoDB driver, which is required to communicate with MongoDB from Node.js. So this driver is required. For every database, we need a relative driver actually. So other database also I will show you. First, we have installed MongoDB driver. So you need to install MongoDB driver. So this is the command you need to follow. That is the command you need to define. I will copy that here. Syntax will be like this. So you have to install MongoDB driver. Okay. Next, after installing, so MongoDB database driver. So what will happen is it will download MongoDB module. It will download MongoDB module. So, and this MongoDB module, which provides all properties and methods, which provides, you can simply say, a set of classes. Usually module provides set of classes that are responsible for connecting and interacting with the database, connecting and interacting with the database. So you have to import the module. You have to import MongoDB module. So MongoDB module. You know how to import that. So we have to just use var syntactically. Here I will define. So we have to use var and Mongo is equal to, we can say MongoDB is equal, we'll give the same name, is equal to require, and the module is MongoDB. That is the module. This MongoDB module contains lot of classes. This module contains lot of classes, and to connect with database, to create database, to interact with the database, a Mongo client class Mongo client class. So here MongoDB provides MongoDB module provides Mongo client class that provides set of properties and methods used to communicate with database So in this MongoDB module you have a Mongo client class. So you know how to access the members of a class. To access the members of the class, you need to create an object for the class. So syntactically, here we have by part, and all together we will write one program. So after importing, we have to create Mongo client object. We have to create Mongo client object. This Mongo client object will be there from the Mongo class. That means it will use MongoDB dot Mongo client. That means this is an reference for this particular class by using this reference. Or actually you can do in a symbol attempt also. That means, or you can write like this also. What you can do is var. So Mongo client, directly Mongo client is equal to require and MongoDB, that is the client. You can directly access like this in one line. That means from the MongoDB module, it will access the Mongo client class. It loads that into memory, which you can access by using this Mongo client. So you can directly handle that. There are lengthy, you can use a lengthy process or short option. You can configure this. So this class object is required. To communicate with the database. It is required to communicate with the database. So that is the option required for connecting with the database. Now, after creating an object for this, you need to connect with MongoDB. That means Mongo client requires connection string to connect with MongoDB string to connect with MongoDB server. And the connection string for MongoDB server, connection string for MongoDB server is, the connection string is, already in the introduction I told you, the connection string will be, so it will be protocol MongoDB : /127.0.0.1 27017. That will be the data. That will be the option. So this is the connection string required to connect with the data. So we will see this now. That means how to connect. We will see one sample program. Let's see an example. So let's go to our programs In the server side, I am adding a new file, connection dot js. Node.js program saved with JS extension. Okay. Here we will first import where Mongo client. We are importing Mongo client is equal to require MongoDB. In MongoDB, the Mongo client class, you have to import this. So that Mongo client class provides all the properties and methods that are required to communicate with the database. So that is the Mongo client. Okay. Now to connect with the database, you need a connection string. You need a connection string. And MongoDB connection string will be MongoDB : /127.0.0.27013. The URL. So connection string is actually a URL. But remember, in other database, connection string will be different. Like it will ask username, password, server name, database, all these things you have to mention in connection string. But here in the connection string, you need to define the URL of the server. Actually, I already told you, open the MongoDB, cd program files and cd MongoDB and cd, so 4.4 cd server, right? 4.4 and cd bin, and I type here mongo.exe. It starts the Mongo client, and you can see this is the server address connecting to the server address. Actually, this 127.0.0.1 that you can use as local host. It is the local server name. Usually local server name will be localhost, and it is showing connection failed actually. For that, I need to go to services. I need to open services, and in the services, make sure that the server is started. It is saying that it is unable to connect to server. So MongoDB server is there in the services. Already I told you, start that MongoDB server. Okay. So MongoDB server, and we will start that MongoDB server. We are starting that MongoDB server. Okay. Make sure that it is started, MongoDB server. And it is started. Okay. Now let's run this. And you can see it is connected now. It is connected. And it is connected to the same location. So this is the connection string. So that you have to use here as a connection string. Okay. Now, after configuring the connection string, so Mongo client can connect. One more point you need to know is, so Mongo client, so you can say Mongo client can connect with, Mongo client can connect with any database, can connect with any database by using, can connect with any database. You can say can connect with server, can connect with server by using connect method, by using connect method. To connect with the database, Mongo client uses the connect method. So syntactically, how it uses, syntactically Mongo client dot connect to connect with connection string. You have to write the connection string. Which connection string? We have to define the connection string. After defining the connection string, it uses a callback function. This callback function is going to return error, and it is going to return a client object. So error will return what error in connection. That means if it is unable to connect, then it will return the problem. And whatever the problem is returned, you can present that by using this error object. And a client object, so if connection is successful, this client object will provide some properties and methods through which you can connect with the database on the server. First, we are connecting with server. If connection with server is successful, then we will connect with the database on that server. For that, we need a client object. So that client object is responsible for handling the connections. So callback function contains two objects, error object and a client object. Error object returns the problems in connection. Client object will provide properties to connect with a database on the server. So let's write this and see now. First, we will see connection working properly or not. So here we are configuring is working properly or not. Here we are configuring simply Mongo client dot connect. We are using that connect option. And connect with which connection string? It is expecting the connection string. I will give the connection string I created. You can directly write this connection string here, or better keep in a variable and use it. And after connecting to that connection string, it uses a callback function. So that means internally it is using asynchronous tasks. That means it is connecting with the database server, and it is verifying also. That means two functions are simultaneously working here. Means internally it is using all asynchronous calls. So here we will get two objects in the callback function. One is error object, another one is client object. Client object. Because these are formal names, you can give any name. Formal names, you can give any name. Now here, so we are defining a logic here. If not error, that means if there is no error, then display message console.log, display message connected successfully. This message should come. Else, if there is a problem, then display that problem. Console.log error. Error.message. It will get the error message and display. That means what is the error message? It will get the error message and display. If there is a problem in connection. So now the program is ready. So technically the program is ready. So once the program is ready, you compile and run this. So from the command prompt, we will run this. So let's go and open this. Yeah, connection.js. So here node connection.js and hit enter. and you can see that it says connected successfully. Some other messages are coming. These are general messages. It is showing some deprecated warnings saying that in future some options will be removed. Please verify them, like that. Currently connected successfully. That means no problem. So if there is a problem, let's say, suppose my connection string is wrong. Suppose I given like HTTP. Connection string is wrong. And I am trying to compile and run this again. Now say invalid connection string. It shows the message. It will catch the problem and it will return that problem. That means you are not successfully connected. So technically, we need to understand how we can handle the connection strings first perfectly. If you have a problem in connection, you cannot connect with it. So now connected successfully. So if there is no problem, let's change this. Actually, it should be MongoDB. And when we compile and run this, you can observe that, so it is connected successfully. Any problem, it will display that problem. Right. So this is a simple program we are writing in Node.js to establish connection with the database. Once we establish connection with the database, you can do a lot of interactions on that. That means we can create database dynamically, we can create tables dynamically, we can modify the records, insert the records, update the records, delete the records. We can do all manipulations on the database. So let's see how we can work with the database on the connection. Once connection is successful, and how we can work with the database on the connection. We will see how we can work with that. So first point, connection is successful. I will give you this complete program here. And here, this is an example of testing connection with MongoDB server. And for that, we are writing a program. So connection.js. In that program, you need to keep all this logic. This is the logic. So, and you need to write this in that and test that. That means you have to run the command prompt and you have to use, so test this. That means node connection.js. So if all the connection string is successfully configured, it will connect. Okay. We learned basically how to connect. Next important, after connecting, how to read the records from a database. How do we insert records into the database? So we will see that part, how we can manage all the interactions. We will see that. So this is just only connection first. Connection must be successful. If connection is successful, then only you can manage all other interactions. So this is the connections. Fine. Once we connected successfully, let's see how we can interact with that. Means how we can interact with the database and how we can work with the database. So let's see how we can create and interact, how we can interact with the database. So now already in MongoDB, let's log in into MongoDB. So program files, cd MongoDB, cd server, cd 4.4, cd bin, and Mongo, and it is started. Show DBS. It shows databases. You remembered we created a database called DemoDB. Okay, so use DemoDB. It changes into the DemoDB. Show collection. So it will show the collections. Two tables are there: TBL categories, TBL products. Now in DemoDB, I connect with this table and read the records and display the records through a server-side technology. That means through Node.js, we have to connect with the database and read the records from the database. Let's see how we can manage that, how we can handle that. So I will create another program just for your convenience sake, right? Read.js. Okay. In this, first step is common, where Mongo client is equal to require MongoDB dot Mongo client class. Okay, now we need to create a connection string. Usually we can write simple URL, and that URL is MongoDB:/127.0.0.1. Actually, you can write like this also, localhost, and port number is 27017. That localhost current our local server actually. You can directly write like that. Actually, the local in real world projects we use IP address because it will be in some other location. So you can use 1270.0.1. Both of them are same. Now this is the connection string. So Mongo client dot connect. Connect is the command. Connect with URL, and a callback function will get error and the client object. We are writing condition. If not error, what to do? We will decide. If error, then console.log that error.message. Error message we will display. If not error, that means it is successfully connected. In our previous program, once it is successfully connected, we were just displaying that message saying that successfully connected. But now what we have to do is, so we need to use a small connection object which can connect with the database, and it can read the data from a table and return it. If connection is successful, then we need a client object. This client object can communicate with the database inside this connection now. So what we will do is, we will create a database object, and this database object will refer to the database on the connection. How to access database on the connection? Through this client object. So client object will return the current connection. On the current connection, we can use db command. You know already, db is a command to use any database. Through db, which database you have to use? You have to mention the database name. Database name is DemoDB. whatever the database is there in your MongoDB. In MongoDB, our database name is DemoDB. So that means once the connection is successful, there is no error. Through client object, so we use db command and get the database. That means now this database, DemoDB, can be referred with this object. That means whatever interactions you want to do on that database, that you can manage with this database object. Now currently what we want to do, we want to read records from a table. Table means collection, and return those records present in the database. So in the database, this is a database object. We need to read the data from collection. Then we have the method collection. Which collection? Collection name. Collection name is TBL products. TBL products is the collection. That means through database object, it provides a collection. Access the collection means we can access any table. And what is the table we are having in the database? TBL products. Okay. How to read the records from the table? We learned already, right? So we have a find command. And find command can use some query. Currently, I am not using any query. You keep empty. I am not using any query. I am just keeping empty. You can just leave it empty. Query is not required. Query means I want to read only the records whose price is greater than this. All those queries that I showed you in MongoDB, you can implement them here. Currently, this find. So what find command will do is, it will read all the records from this particular table. After reading them, it has to return them and present them. This time we are presenting in Node.js. Generally in MongoDB we use the pretty function. Currently we need to fetch and return in Node.js. So find command uses a function. So toArray. That means whatever data comes, the data is converted into array. And toArray uses a callback function. Remember, it is using promise and all. Promise means nothing but it is using asynchronous requests. So we use a function. It uses a function. And this function will have two objects again. One is, another one is documents. That means if there is a collection called TBL products, that means there is no problem in table name. And it is able to read the records from the table successfully. So then it will convert them into array and stores them in these documents. Remember, first one is an error object. It will return error if there is a problem in reading the records. If there is any problem in reading the records, that means we will write a condition here. If not error, that means if there is no problem. If not error, if there is no problem, means it is not having any problem. So then display those documents. So then we will simply use console.log. Whatever documents are returned by array, print them. That means console.log documents. It will print those documents. Documents are nothing but records. It will print those records. Else, if there is a problem, console.log, it will return the problem. error.message, it will return the problem. This is how we have to connect with a database and read the records from a table and return them. Actually, if it is MySQL, SQL Server, Oracle like database, then you have to use select from table, means SQL queries. You have to use SQL queries. Here MongoDB is a simple JavaScript based. That is the reason we just need to use this find command. It returns into array and you get that and display that here. Now let's run this and see. Read.js. Let's run this and see. So I will compile and run this. Node read.js. If everything is fine, then it will return the records. You can see it returns the records. It returns an array, and the array contains the list of all the records. That means your logic is successfully working now. We will learn how to insert records, update records, delete records. But this is the first approach, how we can connect with the table. If there is a problem in this, I will stop this now. Control C to terminate the command. So here, if there is a problem in table name, so remember table name, field names, all capitalization matters here. If there is a problem in table name and I am compiling this and it shows the error, here you can see it is unable to return. It is showing an empty array. That means table is not there. If table is there and products, there is a problem in the connection string. For every problem, it will report the error because we are reporting the error. Suppose I say HTTP, but actually it is not HTTP. When I compile this, it says invalid connection string. For every problem, it will report that here. So it is MongoDB. And you can see instead of this, I can use localhost. I will save this. And I will compile and run this. And you can see it is working fine. It is working fine. So we have written a simple program. And with this program, we can connect with the database. This is the database. There may be several databases. So you can connect with any specific database. You can read the records from the table. So, and we can add and we can work with the records. Here currently we are using a find command, convert that into array, read all the documents returned from the array and present the documents. So this is connecting with the database, reading the records and presenting it. This is another example. So this is an example for read. So read documents from MongoDB collection. Documents from MongoDB collection. So this is the program. So I just given the name as some read.js. And this is the program for that read.js. This is the sample program. Means how we can connect. First, we need to configure the client driver and connection string. And through connect method, you have to connect with the connection string. After that, through the client object, we can access the database through db command. And on the database, we can access a collection and find the records and return the records in an array form. This is how we can do two tasks again. Actually, now see here, suppose we have these data options and all defined here. So suppose here we are writing the command, here we are writing the command find, and here we are defining. So we are configuring name. So name is Nike Casuals. I'm using a query and I will compile and run this here. So I will compile and run this here. It will get only that and display. All your queries are same, how you have learned in MongoDB. In MongoDB, I told you how to write the queries. That means price greater than this, price less than this. Is it in stock or not? So I told you how to write the queries greater than, less than. So you can use those queries and you can get only what you want. If you don't pass the query, it will return all of them. You can configure your queries. How to write the queries already I told you. That means, so here another example, this is querying documents using find query options that you can do, because all the queries I told you how to do that. This is an example. Just we are using that query here. In the find command, we are configuring and using that query here. That's what we need to do. This is reading the records. Now we will see through Node.js how we can insert the records, update the records, delete the records from a server-side technology. So once we know these programs, now we can create a UI. From UI, we can interact with that. So that is later. So now we need to learn how to insert, update, and delete the records. That we will see in our next session, right? Tomorrow, we will discuss about the rest of options. First, you try up to this, because it is little bit confusion and little bit complex for beginning level people. So once you try, if you face any problem, let me know about that, so that I can check what the problem is. Because this is a very important part in our server-side integrations. And we will see with other database also, how they are managed. First, we will see how we can work with MongoDB. So tomorrow we will see how do we insert, update, delete records from the database. Okay, right.